Well, I have one other person on this issue. Um, Her name was called earlier. That's Vere Brathwaite, attorney at
Yeah.
law, and she wanted to get in to say something.
Yes,
Uh,
by all means.
Good afternoon.
Hi, David. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm well, and you?
I'm well. Thank you very much. David, I just wanted to call not to get involved in the political fray at all or to make any comment with respect to the legal action involving Miss Motley and Barbados today. But I called simply because my name has been mentioned. I heard it earlier mentioned in your program today and on some occasions in the past, recent past, that is. Let me just say that I am an attorney at law called to the bar of Barbados in September 1985. I was called to the bar of England and Wales in 1984. It is absolutely correct what you stated earlier with respect to the chronology that is required to be able to practice law in Barbados. And also what Mr. Motley, who I think might still be on the program,
He is still here.
right, he explained earlier, which is that at the time when I was called to the bar in Barbados, and in Barbados we say admitted to the bar. In England we say called to the bar, but there's no distinction. It's just a matter of nomenclature. At that time, to be able to be called to the bar in Barbados, all that was required was that you were called to the bar of England. And thus I qualified. I have heard also that Miss Motley also qualified, although, as I say, I hold no brief for her. Now, I think what we should try to do is to demystify the words and the process and the call and the practicing certificate and the pupillage and the ends and so on. A practicing certificate just permits you to practice in a jurisdiction for a particular period of time. It does not mean that you are not qualified to practice. And let me say also that all of us who are attorneys at law in Barbados are required every year to get a practicing certificate from the Registrar of the Supreme Court. That doesn't mean that we are not qualified to practice. It means that we need to pay for that year to be able to practice. And those people, for example, who went to the Hugh Woodin Law School and who are called to the different bars in around the Caribbean, they also have to go to each country in the Caribbean that they wish to be called in and get admitted to that bar. So there's no automatic qualification even because you have an LEC that you can even come to Barbados and practice. The ones who are called to the bar, who have the LEC and who wish to practice in Barbados, they then come to Barbados, and they are admitted to the Barbados bar. So I hope I have been able to explain this question of being able to practice and a practicing certificate. Now, what is pupillage? Pupillage is an engagement in a qualified barrister's chambers. It is not necessary. At least it wasn't in 1984 when I was called to the bar of England and Wales. Neither was it required in 1985 when I was called to the bar of Barbados. It simply means that you work in a barrister's chambers in England, much like doctors do internship. You get a medical qualification, and then you want to practice in a particular jurisdiction, you do an internship in that jurisdiction. Barbados doctors, for example, if they wish to go to practice, say, in the United States, they need to take those qualifying exams as well. But pupillage is not an exam course. It is simply that you go to the barristers' chambers, you work with the barristers, and let me also say that while it was not required, I also did 12 months of pupillage in the chambers of a man called Sir Edward Gardner. It was not required, and I just heard Mr. Motley say that he also did pupillage, just because he felt like. And also, that was the case in my situation as well. I felt like I enjoyed life in England. I wasn't ready to come back to Barbados. And I wanted an opportunity to spend another year. I spent a further year in England, in the Edward Gardiner's chambers. I went to court with the barristers. I worked with them. I didn't have audience in court, but you work with them, you follow the briefs, you meet with the solicitors, and you go to court, and you get that experience. And let me also mention that pupillage is for 12 months without pay. Not a penny is paid to you.
No, but you have you have to pay for it. You have to pay 100 guineas, and of which 100 pounds went to the barrister, and 100 shillings went to the clerk of the chambers.
You would appreciate, of course, Mr. Moore.
That was before your time.
That was long before my time, Mr. Moore.
Yes,
and I don't recall having paid. But even if that might have been, I don't know, a requirement at the start, you did not receive any money whatsoever.
Well, I want to say that quite a lot has been said on this because this matter has been floating around this place and has not been confronted in a direct way by us up until today. I think it's very important that you come and educate the Barbadian public on this whole process. And from here, we will be in a better position to understand what is being said to us and what is being fanned by some people and what is being denied by others. Okay?
Let me just I need to run off to court, David, so I don't have much time, but let me just finish up briefly. At the time in 1985 when I was called to the bar of Barbados, the only requirement for admission to the bar in Barbados was that you were called to the bar in England. There was no mention of pupillage, and let me also say that to be able to be called to the bar in England at that time, there was no requirement of pupillage. All that was required of you, one, you undertook a course of study leading to the bar exams in England. Two, you passed those bar exams. Three, you were a member of an inn.
And four,
you had those dinners at the inn. As a matter of fact, even if you had passed your bar exams in England with flying colors and you had not eaten the requisite amount of dinners, you were denied your call to the bar. That is how serious.
I can confirm. I can confirm that there.
Of course, okay. Definitely. So you were called to the bar, to the bar in England through your inn. I'm a member of the Honourable Society of Lincoln's Inn, and because there's so many people from all over the world, there are hundreds of people being called. You're called in a ceremony in your particular inn. So I was called in a ceremony in Lincoln's Inn. I understand that Miss Motley would have been called in a ceremony at Middle Temple.
That's correct.
So she was a member there. So there's no mystery, David. There's no mystery. You were called to the bar in England, and by virtue of that qualification at that time, you were allowed to be called to the bar of Barbados. End of story.